Hello, my name is Nelsonator, and I'm here with my friend.
I'm PerishTorch.
And this is Mega Man Battle Network 6 Cybeast Gregar. Last time we took care of the whole Blast Man incident, and now we're sort of free to explore what's going on the net a little bit, and then we're going to get into the next day's activities, per se. So, this is me, after Blast Man, just sort of exploring what's around on the internet, checking in on a couple things. This Mr. Prog here, since the security is very tight in Cyber City, email needs to go through specialty programs instead of just getting straight sent to your PET. So, I have to go talk to Mr. Prog to go check the emails from my old friends. It'd be really inconvenient if we had to do that now that, you've moved to your new place. Move a mile north, and then all of a sudden I've got to set up, I don't know, a special phone just so you can call me. I've got the bat phone, but instead it's for you.
Well, as we also were showing off here, sometimes your friends will attach things to your emails, usually chips based on their Navi. So that's a very helpful one to start putting into your folder because not only does roll do a bunch of damage, but then also heals you for it. So
That's
it's always
right.
nice to have those 2-for-1 effects.
Yep. Unfortunately, Roll's the only Navi that sort of returns in battle chip format for this game. The other thing I'm demonstrating here is, hey, you can rename your folders. And then I'm trying to name it just bruh, and I sort of can't figure out how to just end it there, whether there's a backspace or not. I suppose it's probably the back right there under next, but for some reason, I don't think of that. And then I just say, forget it, we're done, restart, I'm scrapping this take. Well,
I love for a second that you also paused on naming it the ban folder instead of land folder.
Yeah, well, I reset it. I'm just like, forget this. We're scrapping this take. We're starting over again. But it's more fun to make fun of my incompetence than it is to just pretend I'm super professional all the time. So back to where we were before. We're just gonna slot the roll battle chip into the folder here and sort of rearrange the folder a bit to get the fire hits out of the folder, make us more on code, and we're just gonna explore a little bit.
Now that you've gotten the program advance added to your library, you don't care about it that much anymore.
Yeah, one of the things I do for this LP is I'm going a little bit out of my way to add program advances to my folder that wouldn't otherwise get shown off except in a big video towards the end. So I'm trying to keep track of what I've shown off as we go through so that I don't have to do a big showcase at the end of it.
Sure. And it's also a good idea to show, hey, you can get access to this at roughly this point in the game, rather than, as you said, a big showcase at the end.
Yeah. There's a couple of them that I haven't been able to access to that don't scale throughout the game. For example, there's a program advance called Hyperburst where it takes M, N, and O code spreader 1, but also you could make it with spreader 2 or spreader 3. So I haven't been able to show that off yet because I haven't gotten the correct chips for it, but someday we'll end up seeing that. But yeah, this is just sort of a leisurely stroll around the internet. Just, Blast Man's dead, what are we gonna do? I don't know, let's just have some fun. Go around. Who's around? The other fun thing about folder building at this point is, the A code is still, reasonably strong at this point, because every chip I can get for it, is relatively good at deleting viruses. With full synchro, I can take down just about anything I've seen with a cannon. And, the last thing, very soon here we're going to get another huge step in power called the train arrow, and it's really good at just annihilating single target enemies, and I'm going to demonstrate a lot going forward, but it comes in the A code, so it just slots right in perfectly. But there's a point where you need to change your chips up to be able to match the power level of what's coming on. So we're going to be seeing this folder until the end of the next dungeon, and then I'm going to completely toss it out to go with something else. So it's always fun to be yeah, this folder served me really well for this point in time, but time to just scrap it all and start over.
I like that even though you perfectly got the canon program advance, you specifically chose something else.
I wanted to get many counter hits. There's a point where you just kind of start up recording after a little bit and you're like, man, do I still remember how to do this? Do I remember the timing? because, like, later on, I get access to, like, special charge shots, and I'm like, okay, how long does it take me to charge this? And every time, like, it charges up and I hang out with it for, like, half a second, I'm like, man, I should know this timing, and I should already be firing off the flamethrower. Why am I waiting so long? So, like...
Also, as that NPC pointed out there, you know, talking about, oh, if you haven't seen the area showing off the legendary beasts, you should go check it out. Good thing those don't exist.
Good thing they don't exist.
Before, yeah.
Yep. Right.
Just a Pokemon game. Like, oh yeah, there was a legend, but thank God that doesn't exist. Then why is it on the front of the box?
I wonder. Well, yeah, these guys are talking about a suspicious Navi that's been attacking individuals, and we're going to be able to get a good look at them in a couple of updates here, but for the short term, we're just going to kind of hang out and take a look. So, let's take a look at what Roll does.
Yeah, first shot for Roll.
Yep. Here she is. She attacks, and then she heals. So, the nice thing to know about it is the amount she heals is based on the damage she does. So, if you have, like, attack plus 10, she will hit 3 times for 30 each, and then you will heal 90. In her base form, she heals for 60 after hitting for 20, but with the full synchro there, she hit for 120, healed me for 120. I'm already at max HP, so that doesn't really change anything, but, you know, it's always nice. 4,000 Zenny well spent on a battle chip I will never use.
Well, I mean, you'll probably use it once?
At some point, I ought to show it off, yeah. The Elect Sword is a, like, pretty powerful chip that will be very useful for Gregar players for various reasons that will be shown off later. The E code is also extremely strong in this game, so it's nice to have good chips in good codes. What I'm sort of showing off here by running to all of these corner entrances is Central 3 here is a hub where you can get to any other area from it. So just sort of wandering around to show off everything that's connected to the massive hole in the center here. This area is sort of a crossroads. We'll be coming back through it very frequently. It's a very important place.
Yeah, the high cannon's nice in that it's just the same as a regular cannon but does more damage, but unfortunately, with the code that it comes in, it's not really a good replacement for an existing cannon.
Yeah, it's not currently a good replacement, but there will be a point where the high cannon will get its due. The old stove enemy that was found in Blastman's Dungeon is a lot more common here, and the counter hit timing is right as they start heating up to fire off their massive firearm there. I called it a firearm because they call it firearm for some reason. Don't know why they just call it a flamethrower, but firearm it is. So here we are. This is the legend of the game, the conceit. There are 2 legendary cyber beasts, one of which is sort of familiar to people who have played the franchise before. The one on the left is Cyber Beast Gregar, which is the namesake of the box. He shows up on the intro screen every time I turn the game on. He looks very similar to the final boss of Mega Man Battle Network 2, which was called Gospel. It was a giant wolf. It was covered in heavy armor, and it was the final boss of the game. Suitably powerful for that sort of thing. But we're here now. We've been told to leave, but let's run around a little bit. Let's see what else is here. And
also a reference to Gospel in earlier Mega Man games, even outside of the Battle Network franchise, of course.
Right. Base's support dog that helped him starting in Mega Man 7. Base will also make an appearance in this game, but he's a little ways off here. It'd be, you know, kind of nice if there were a connection between, like, I don't know, Base to Gregar, because there's a connection between him and Gospel, but unfortunately that's not the case here. The bird design, however, is entirely new. We've never seen anything like it before, so it's a big scary bird creature that is supposedly on an equal footing with Cybeast Gregar here. So, while we're going to sleep, our dad is going out to meet the mayor, who also is the principal, I guess. It's sort of nice to be able to, like, have multiple jobs at the same time, but man, it must take, like, being a principal is a full-time job, being a mayor is a full-time job. How is he both?
Well, there's probably not a lot in the day-to-day operations of mayoring, and I think he said right away that he leaves most of the operations of the school to the vice principal. So
Even
I guess he's half-assing two jobs instead of whole-assing one job.
oof. Yeah, he really is. But the big thing that sort of matters here is that this is the reason why Lan has moved to Cyber City. His father has a special program that can allow for a lot of traffic to be going through a single internet page. It's a massive memory storage and processing unit. And he's brought a small bit of it to Mayor Kane here to hand over to him to say, yeah, this is the thing we're going to use to make the expo work. And Mayor Kane's just like, all right. So, we flash forward to the next day where Mick is late for class. And he's brought a friend. So, if you brought a penguin to school, Perish, what would you say to the rest of us if you brought a penguin to school?
Probably not, what is this thing? I always thought that was very funny that no one even recognized. Well, I shouldn't say no one, but multiple of the kids don't seem to recognize what this penguin is.
Yep. Yeah, like, I got shown animal books when I was a toddler. I knew what a penguin was. Everyone should... Mick, you should know it's not a pelican.
Yeah, the first time he said pigeon, so
Well,
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of the classic meme.
Is this a pigeon? Is this a penguin? Is this a pelican?
Exactly.
One of the other things about this is, like, Lan says, well, maybe it is a pelican, and I'm pretty sure this is him just messing with Mega Man, because, like, Lan is sort of clever and sarcastic and really good at quick thinking, so I'm pretty sure this is just him messing with Mega Man here. Like, he knows what it is. But, then again, later in the game we'll show that maybe he doesn't actually know.
Yeah, Lan's not necessarily dumb, but he can be clueless about some things.
Yep. Lan is very much about acting first, thinking second. So, if he hasn't had a need to really, like... School is not about acting quickly. It's a lot about just sort of, going with what's put in front of you. Lan doesn't respond to school very well, as has been shown in every game up to this point. So, like, making fun of whether it's a pelican or a penguin is the highlight of his day.
And also having no idea what penguins eat. I mean, do we know what rough grade they're in? I mean, the classrooms are labeled 6-2, so if they are in, 6th grade, and that is roughly equivalent between Japanese schools and English schools. I don't remember if they officially gave his age at any point during this game or in the series.
He's somewhere around, like, the 11 to 12-year-old range.
So yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that by 6th grade, I knew what the difference between a pelican and a penguin was, and what penguins ate.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if it's because they want to talk about, like, there might be some younger student who sees a fish and they're like, oh yeah, fish are cute, they're my friend. And then they come in like, yeah, penguins eat fish. Like, is there the distinguishing factor between cute animal and food?
Yeah. And it could definitely be a geographic thing, where you learn about some things or some animals versus others because you don't live in that area.
Yep. And now I see this unlocker here in the 6-2 classroom, and I don't remember if I came back for it or not. Do you know what penguins eat? Whatever, we'll just go talk to the biology teacher. But yeah, I also like the Mr. Prague sitting up there who's just like, just between you and me, I think the kids in class 6-2 are much better than the kids in class 6-1. Like, he clearly doesn't know who he's talking to and how immediately, like, better the entire class average got as a whole with Lan and Mega Man just showing up.
Well, at least in terms of virus busting.
Yeah, the academic score by average has probably fallen. Oops. I'm always amazed how frequently Giga Cannon just comes up in the first draw, and every time I see it, I'm just like, well, I win this fight.
Yep.
Like, it's happened twice this video.
It's because Lan and Mega Man believe in the heart of the cards.
Yep, heart of the cards. Man, like, I wish there was like a readily applicable thing to say about that to compare it to like in this game, like the Heart of the Chips or something like that. Because I remember there was like you could, if you were like looking at the RNG seed, you could plan like what chip in your folder would show up in the first hand. And I'm pretty sure the RNG for Game Boy Advance games is determinate. So if you arrange your folder the proper way in some of the games, it will give you exactly the chips you need for specific fights on reset. I think.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to mention that kid outside throwing shade on both Lan and Mick. Who doesn't know the difference between a pelican and a penguin?
He's right to do it. These two kids are both really dumb. But yeah, this is the first grader area, so everyone here is like the super small kids compared to like our, mid-size here that Lan and Mick are. There's also one of the really short kids up in Lan's class. I don't know if he's been moved ahead or if he's just really short, but yeah. I'm glad they show us the range of size of children a lot here,
I do think it's also very interesting that they talk about every device as being connected to the net, but what they mean by that seems to be that every device has its own internal net, so to speak, because there are very few devices that you can actually use to access the proper net from. Obviously, your home computer, things like that, but then there are just some very random, strange ones that you'll come across later in the game. And you think, oh yeah, obviously the blackboard at a school, there's no reason to connect that to the internet at large.
Of course not. Why would you ever do that?
Random food stall, that obviously has to be hardwired in.
Yeah, the food stall that is hardwired to the network, but you can't, jack into it from the food stall itself. You have to come to it from the network.
Mm-hmm.
Which, on some level, I guess it sort of makes sense that they're connected to the network so that they can, advertise and such, but at the same time, really? Also, one thing I want to point out here, that girl asking for the double shot C, it's found in the classroom next door, and this starts, a game-wide trading chain, just passing chips around back and forth until we eventually trade up into something absolutely incredible. So, yeah, look forward to it. But hey, we found the biology teacher. He says they need to feed a hungry penguin and you need fish. I don't have any fish, but I gotta go find the aid. He feeds the animals every day. Go find him. Well, let's go find him.
I'm very confused about that answer because so far the only things that we've been showing off are, classroom pets. You usually think of those as something pretty small, like a hamster or some crayfish. I don't think that they'd have enough fresh fish on hand to feed a penguin just by taking care of all the animals in the school.
Yeah. Also, I like that kid there who's standing at the camera making a funny face, and there's somebody in the teacher's room being like, what's this kid doing making faces at me?
It is nice that you can see both sides of some events like that.
Yep. So, somewhere, I haven't found him yet. I guess he's in class 6 too, but I had to check every single room because I don't remember if he, I know I was in here earlier as part of the recording, but I was more worried about talking whatever we were talking about as opposed to focusing on whether he was here or not. It's been a week or so since I've recorded all these, and everything has just slipped out of my mind. Oops.
Also, I'm super glad that kid was very nice about it. Even though he doesn't have some fish, he's gonna call his grandpa and ask him to wait at the bus stop for some fish for Lan.
Yep. His dad came over from... so, the question is, what does grandpa do all day? Is he just having fun, just doing this as a hobby, or is he actually, a fisherman?
I want to say he's retired and he just loves to fish.
Hopefully.
I mean, it certainly seems like when you look at his stuff, I think you see him with his equipment. Maybe I'm remembering a different part of the game, but I don't think he has, full commercial fishing gear. I think it's just, part-time recreational fishing setup.
Yeah. I mean, he's right here by the station here, so we can just check. He's brought an icebox and he can't open the lid because it's got an electronic lock and it's got viruses in it. It's like, why does it need an electronic lock on it, you know?
Because otherwise people would steal your fish?
I guess so. But why not put, like, an actual lock on it and just have a key?
Maybe it's just, like, a smart icebox that, keeps everything insulated and temperature controlled. And so they figure, hey, if we're already smarting this device up, we might as well put in an electric lock mechanism.
Suppose so. So, these 3 viruses we saw here will be the new viruses introduced for the area that I'm about to go to. And all of them are, fish or aquatic themed. The starfish in the back is kind of annoying because if you get trapped in the bubbles, you will take double damage from electric attacks. The pufferfish in the top there will increase the number of needles it shoots every time it gets damaged. So if you just shoot it twice with the buster, it'll take, 2 damage total, and then suddenly it'll be extremely angry and firing a bunch of needles at you. And the piranha is an enemy from the first game that hasn't appeared in anything else until this game. So it's a very long road it took to get here, but the piranha is finally back.
I do enjoy the different changes in the expression for the puffer sprite.
Yeah, where at the beginning it just starts, it's sleeping, and then wakes up and it's like a little bit groggy, and then wakes up and it is just extremely mad.
Fully inflated, eyes bulging out.
Yep. Right, so for information, instead of just, hopping on Google or something like that, we gotta go to a board on the internet, a BBS, and we gotta go ask the question or, check it to see if anybody's lost a penguin. So that's, kind of funny to me, but also here, the penguin and Mick are starting to bond in their very strange way.
Yeah, the BBSs are probably one of the few things that seems particularly outdated about Capcom's vision of the net-influenced future.
Yeah. They were very important, in the era where this game came out. I remember going to GameWinners.com to look up cheats for the Mega Man Battle Network games, and they had a board there that people were talking about. GameFAQs still has its board to this day, but it's a lot less, important than it used to be for talking about stuff. But,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of interactions that people have between different, forum or similar BBS-type websites, but it seems like now, a lot more people are more willing to do that with a closer group of people, say a Discord server that you've all joined and you're posting in text channels on, or just interacting with people on your Facebook wall or something.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to note, this game came out in Japan in 2006, and I think it came out here in the US in spring 2007. Twitter existed by the time this game came out. If you want to sort of sit back and realize how long that site's been online. But I think MySpace was probably around at this point. Facebook came later, I think, right?
That's a good question.
So just sort of pointing out these things that dominate the internet now, they weren't really around when this game came out. So the game is sort of very prescient about Internet of Things, how this can cause problems for us all, but it doesn't have that much to say about social media because it hadn't really been a thing yet.
Facebook started serving the US in 2004, but again, that could have been back when it was highly restricted to only university students.
Yep.
So I don't remember exactly when it became available public to everyone.
Yeah, and
but probably around 2006.
Yeah, and I did a search, and MySpace was apparently founded in 2003, and from 2005-2008, it claims it was the largest social networking site in the world. So, yeah, MySpace, Twitter, a lot of these sites that are now the staples of our social media conversations were sort of around in their nascent phase, but they were still competing with uh, like GameFAQs or whatever other boards existed at the time. Well, I mean, maybe not GameFAQs per se, because, like, you wouldn't go to GameFAQs if you're looking to find out whether a penguin got lost or something like that, but, like, Google existed at this point, right? You could totally Google, like, did a penguin go missing? And you'd get connected to a, like, news site that would talk about that, I would think.
Also, just the fact of having to travel somewhere to access a certain part of the net.
Yeah.
That area that you showed off that specifically was a hub between all the different net areas, there's no way that would be allowed to fly today. Where just, I can't access that whole fifth of the internet? It's okay, I'll find something else to do today. People would be rioting.
Yeah, I guess the entirety of this is supposed to be like an abstraction. So, I'm not a fan of these guys. I think they're called shakies, the kind of pirate-looking dudes with the big weight that cause the shockwaves. Their counter timing is really strange, and you have to be standing in front of them to make it work. The other interesting thing is the Gunner 2 virus has a completely different AI set than the original Gunner, where it's just always searching your area for you, as opposed to the other one where it just waited for you to walk in front of it. But yeah, there was just this guy hanging out here, so I figured I might as well wander up and talk to him. This guy, with his kind of skull-looking face, these are the bad guy navies of this game. In previous games, they were called heel navies from, like, the wrestler terms of babyface and heel. But in this game, they've gotten a complete redesign from what they had in 3, 4, and 5. Also, I guess... So what to say with that one area being a hub? I guess the internet in this area is, like... you know how the internet currently functions, there are, like, huge data centers that have all the websites, like, stored on them locally, and then you end up pinging them to get your website information from it, and when you, like, update your website, you update, like, what's in that big server. Like, like I suppose that must be what Central Area 3 is, and that just branches off to whatever any of the other areas and their special networks for their zones are. That's probably what's going on here, but I wish I knew more about, like, internet terminology to properly use the words for this. Like, I might be an electrical engineer with, like, an RF hardware degree, but I know nothing about communication systems like the internet. Like, if anybody asks me, hey, can you fix the internet? I'll just look at it and be like, I don't know, is it plugged in? Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different to talk about setting up your home router connection versus fixing a problem that actually exists with part of the internet, like the basic infrastructure.
Yep. Like, that's a highly trained technician job that I could probably be paid, like, a reasonable amount of money to go and fix people's internet, but, I don't know how to do that. Yeah, you'd think, like I said earlier, this game was sort of my impetus to get into electrical engineering. How did it not get me to, like, be a dude who works on the internet instead? Actually, I can totally imagine why I'm not a dude who works on the internet after playing this game. Like, the internet is maybe bad and not good for people. But yeah, we'd like to go to Seaside Area, but there's a bunch of water in the way. We need to find the repairman who's supposed to fix the water. Well, I could walk all the way back and talk to everyone I meet to go find him, but there was somebody in the Net Cafe in Central 1 who was very clearly late for something and having problems, so it's probably him. It'll be much quicker if I just jack out and just run right over to him. Unfortunately, I cannot help my greed in going for even 150 zennies in the mystery data. But astoundingly...
Before you picked it up?
Yeah, astoundingly, it takes this long to get into an encounter here. Like, wow. I think, like, it'd make me fight 2 battles because of that, but no, it's just this one. And
also,
yeah.
I'm glad that you do the same thing I do, where you try and select a good hand of chips, even though you're pretty sure that you can virus bust with 1 or 2 alone.
It's something left over from the older games, and I'll explain it after we get through here, but the repairman had a tool that he could use to fix things, but he dropped it somewhere in his previous work routine. And he was repairing a lot of things in Central Town. What's, like, somebody fixing a water-related thing? Where have we been that has that? Well, of course, we gotta go to our bathroom. But yeah, like, way back in Battle Network 2 and 3, their customization system for Mega Man involved styles, and your style would be changed by how you fought battles. And selecting a whole bunch of chips on the custom screen helped you get one of those styles, and it was the one I wanted all the time, so I had to keep playing like I wanted it all the time, and now it's just stuck with me for all of these years.
I mean, I don't mind the systems that they came up with in the newer games, but damn do I miss the styles from 3.
They were pretty cool. Yeah. I also like here how Mega Man's just like, man, like, I really don't want to fight this virus, you know, it's got a plunger stuck on its head. That seems kind of gross. We shouldn't do that. And Lance just like, Mega Man, we gotta do this. Really? But the other interesting thing about this fight is it shows all 3 levels of the Metar family here. In older games, it would only go up to the 3rd level here, so seeing the Metar 3 here at the start of the game is, like, a reasonable mini-boss fight in comparison. You understand what the Metar already does, and seeing harder versions of it that move a little bit faster, hit a little bit harder, it's a good way to sort of introduce you to the concept of, hey, things will get stronger over the course of the game. Please learn their patterns while they're weak.
Also, I think it's very odd that that repairman was somehow able to get Lan's phone number.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't hand it over to that other Navi there. We just sort of met him and was like, okay, hey, yeah, we'll go find the tool for you. And don't know how he found him at all, but I guess Mega Man could have left a number, maybe? Also, I have no idea what minus ions are. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, I don't know the science behind it, if this actually works or not, but I know that it's at least a marketing tool to use, negatively charged ion particles to help either filter the air or to help disperse, the bad odors in this case of the bathroom.
Huh, alright. I'd like to think that there's some actual science that goes into it, but I have no idea what it is. I'd imagine that, like, whatever the odors of smells are, like, they usually have, I don't remember my chemistry well enough, but there are certain, like, ethyls or ethers or something like that that are attached on the end of particles to make them very scented. Maybe the minus ions are supposed to, like, break off those bits that make them extremely scented and replace themselves on the chain there. Maybe that's how it's supposed to work? I'm not a chemist, I don't know. If you're a chemist and you're listening to this LP, please hop in the comments and correct me. I would like to learn.
I will admit, I didn't take a lot of chemistry training as well, but I do seem to remember that there was one main group that determined a lot of organic chemistry compounds, and there were several types of reactions that were done specifically to manipulate the groups that were attached to molecules. So I certainly would believe that having a negatively charged one to try and specifically break a bond and replace groups on molecules, that could be the premise behind it.
Yeah, and like, due to the life and times we're living in, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts about, like, how viruses and how vaccines are made and stuff, and the way they do things to make a vaccine work is literally chemistry of, okay, well, we have this virus protein here, and then we're going to, well, a lot of the ways they make vaccines is they start with some sort of base virus that's not very threatening to the human body should you get infected with it, and then they will, like, knock off the bit that, like, makes it attack cells, and they'll replace it with whatever the current virus of the day that's really deadly is, so that the virus doesn't infect cells the old way, it infects them the new way, that whatever the current dangerous virus is, and it'll, like, so when you get the vaccine, you're not getting, like, I don't know, super dangerous influenza or whatever. You're getting, like, weak influenza, but it looks like the dangerous influenza, so your body trains itself to fight the dangerous influenza off this modified weakened one. It's a lot of chemistry know-how that I sort of remember because I was listening to this podcast as I was doing other things, but, like, chemistry's whack, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, before we had the attenuated forms of viruses in vaccines, I'm trying to think of what the term is, where they would just give people small amounts of the virus in question and just hope that, catching the virus in a controlled environment rather than being exposed to a higher viral load from an infected person, say, they hoped that would be enough to stimulate your immune system.
And that's apparently something that they can do today in, like, very special circumstances where, like, they will give you a weakened version of the virus, or they will give you a really small dose of it so that, like, you get it, but since it takes so long to sort of ramp up in your body has more time to fight it. So, but it's definitely a thing they still do, but just it's much easier to give someone a vaccine, you know?
Absolutely. And now that we've done a lot of research into it, it's the safer, more effective option.
Yeah. We've learned a lot over the, 6,000 years of human history? 8,000 years? I don't know, like, how far back it goes, but I think, like, the longest record's, like, in India at 6,400 or something like that? Of, like, recorded oral history?
Right. Yeah, it depends on how far back you go to consider it, human history versus, civilized history.
Yeah.
I think 10,000 is the number that I generally use as an average for that.
Yeah, 10 or 12 from the Fertile Crescent, like, Mesopotamia area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we completely stopped talking about the game at this point, but the episode's going to end here really soon, so I want to just sort of bring it back. Thank you for watching this episode of Mega Man Battle Network 6 LP. I hope you all have a nice day.
See ya.